Welcome to my channel. My name's Natalie, and I have been a daycare owner and provider for over 20 years here in beautiful Park City, Utah. I owned 2 hourly centers before going back to the in-home daycare business. Now, I'm here to answer all your questions, give advice, do all the things that any new in-home daycare owner that wants to start a business, daycare center owner, daycare provider, even parents. If you have questions about daycares, here's the channel for you. I will give you my unfiltered opinion. I'm going to be reading 2 or 3 questions off the internet that I find daily through Reddit, through certain Facebook groups. They're all anonymous. You'll never know who wrote what. Let's get started. First question. So I need help with the situation. We have a child that bit another child about 2 months ago. He bit him twice. Now the child that got bit tries to take stuff away from the other kid. He pushes them and isn't very nice to them. Not that this makes it okay, so the mom of that child that got bit kept saying that we should let him go because it's not a safe environment for other children. And is it worth the risk of letting other parents get mad? Now, mind you, the only child that the child ever bit was this one. However, the tables have now turned now that the child that constantly fights and bites now. So now, apparently, this child bit this child, and this mother was pissed at this child here. So now the tables have turned, and now this kid is doing the biting, in my opinion. That's what I think. That's where I think this is going. Now, when the mom of the child that first got bit found out, she was like, you should get rid of him. That's not nice. He hurt my child. Who knows how many others he has bit. But now that her child is the biter, everything's to be all fine and dandy. I mean, she's upset that her child bit, but she's not pushing for her child to be kicked out. Obviously. How should we handle the situation? Thank you and sorry for the rambling. I just had to vent. And that's why I love Facebook groups, Reddit groups that daycare providers can go on this forum, be anonymous, and talk about situations like this and get advice from multiple sources. So this is pretty common. This is not that rare of a situation. I don't really get that many biters, but when I do, it's been rectified. What I know and what I can tell you is that biting is not rare. Biting is normal for toddlers, for the most part. A lot of toddlers don't bite, but some do. And it just depends on their personality, in my opinion. From what I have gathered, I've only seen one biter that was spiteful, that did it on purpose to hurt. And that child I kicked out of my program because that to me was a dangerous situation because the child was old enough to know better, number one. And number two, they were doing it on the download, like knowingly waiting for me to turn my head or one of my employees knowingly and going to bite. That, bye Felicia, you're out of here. See ya, bye. And I don't really care. That's the end of that. Not my problem anymore because I'm not putting my daycare kids at risk for a kid like that. And anyway, I don't know if that's that same situation. I don't think so, but it's always funny when parents get really mad when a kid gets bit, when their child gets bit, when their child is the biter, all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's okay. I always giggle to myself because it's just what we do, Anyway, communicate with your parents. And I'm talking like face-to-face, uncomfortable conversations. Communication is the key. And like I said, mean what you say and say what you mean. Now, depending on your little biter, you've got options. So if your baby if If your biter is a little baby, like a toddler, like a 18-month-old, and they get so excited, they're like, "Meh," and they bite. I mean, that's not a mean bite. It is a bite and it sucks, but they don't know what they're doing. So in that situation with a biter, I will go, if I'm busy, like going to start lunch, I'm going to do projects with my older kids, feed the babies, and this little toddler is wandering around with a couple other toddlers. I'm going to put that toddler up to eat first so that they're away from the other kids while I'm busy. That is the best way to handle the situation, is if you know you're not going to be able to really watch the child, like eyes on shadowing, and you're the only one there, the best way to deal with that situation is to put them in the high chair, put them in a saucer while you are running around going from one transition to another. And that is not an all day thing. That's not for hours. I'm talking, this is like from one transition to another. And if you know that you're not going to be able to pay attention, that's the best that you can do. And this is what you communicate to your parents and be like, listen, this is what I'm doing to try and mitigate this situation. And usually when I communicate to all my parents and be like, see that little dude? That's my little biter over here. And then they look at him and they know him and he's a happy baby and he's a cute baby. And they're like, oh, okay. And if their kid happens to get bit, usually they're pretty cool about it. Usually they're like, okay. And I'm like, I'm doing the best I can. If it becomes a mean situation, totally different story. So I'm glad she vented, and I hope she got some good advice. And if you're listening to this channel, that's my advice. Communication, you've got to put the kid away while you're doing things. And if they start to know better, you need to be very firm if they do bite. At the moment that they bite, I actually have a video and I'll put it up here in one of the cards. I made a biting video, so I'll put it up here. And if they do bite and they knowingly did it, they need to be put in timeout somewhere. Something needs to happen, a consequence of something. If they have a lovey or something, you take it away and they've got to earn it back. Something needs to happen to that child so that they remember. And when I mean happen to that child, I mean you take away their favorite toy and you immediately deal with the situation. Not later, immediately. You stop what you're doing. And if someone, immediately put the child over there. You comfort that other child that got bit, the victim. You comfort the victim. And then you deal with that child. And then you do it all over again if you need to. Hope that answers your question. It's kind of a complicated issue, biting. But anyway, I'll put my video up there and moving on. Anyone have a 16-month to 2 years old and they literally destroy the place? Doors open on the kitchen, the baby nursery toy center, or move stuff around, play washer and dryer set, no bins to dump, but toys just thrown when done with them. It gives me terrible anxiety and makes me go crazy. Then I'll clean it up and they go right back to destroy what I just cleaned. Girlfriend, welcome to my world. That is my life right now. That is my life. I deal with babies and toddlers. And you know what? That is what they do. And the way I deal with it is I let them destroy the place during free play, before we start eating and doing all the things and coloring and things like that. I let them destroy my place. Toys everywhere. I have bins. I have lots of bins. Dumped, cars, kitchen stuff everywhere, inside houses. The story of my life. And I literally, you are right, I will literally start tidying up. And then I've got a couple cute little squishies that'll come right behind me and, oh, she touched the toy. I must have it. And I swear that's what they think. And some days I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, help me, But it only took me 20 years to figure this out. So now I've got these little Halloween buckets, trick-or-treating buckets with little handles. And you know what I've started doing? I have started taking those buckets and start putting all of the toys that they throw everywhere into these buckets. I put them on my table, and then I have an empty bucket. And then I take my sanitizing wipes and I start cleaning, putting them in the bucket, and I start dumping them into their proper bins. And guess what happens? My kids want to play with those buckets and they want to help me clean. So now my 3-year-olds, they're only 3, they know how to go around with these buckets, clean up multiple toys from different areas, from different centers, and put them in the appropriate place. It is ingenious. I'm so excited about this new development that only took me 20 years to figure out. I mean, like seriously, but it is a game changer. So let them destroy the place. The anxiety that you have is your fault. You need to get over it. And that's how I am. I'm like, get over it. Just is. That's what babies do. That's what toddlers do. They will learn how to clean if you teach them. If you don't take the time to teach them, they're not going to learn and you're going to go crazy. But legit, I'm not perfect. And there's legit some days where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just don't have the energy to do this today. Like cleaning for hours. You guys know, daycare providers, you get me. Hours on your hands and knees. It just feels like it's endless. Whether it's crumbs, whether it's toys, whether it's cups, just you name it, we're cleaning. Anyway, I hope that answers the question. So I have a bucket system, put all the toys there, boop. But I make sure to do that before we start going into our lunch to our nap transition. So I let them play. And then after lunch, before nap, I put all my bins up on top of the high chairs. I put them on the table, and then they know it's off limits. So the only toys that they have accessible are my playhouse, another playhouse, and the stuff that's on the cubbies. And good Lord, they know how to wreck a joint. Like they can destroy cubbies. I know. Anyway, that's it. Those are the questions for today. And if you like this channel, I would love for you to comment below, like and subscribe. Boop. Like and subscribe. Comment below anything that you think you would want answered, any other suggestions. I'm always open to learning. 20 years and counting, I'm always learning. Think bucket system. So guess what I'm going to do for Valentine's Day? I'm going to buy Valentine's Day buckets for my little babies at Walmart, and I'm going to buy a few extra for myself. And I'm going to change out the buckets because kids like change. They like different things. So instead of our trick-or-treating buckets, I'm going to have some cute little heart buckets. And we will do this again. Anyway, that's it. Subscribe and have a great day.